Welcome back, everybody. Our first guest tonight is a Tony-nominated, Emmy-winning actor you know from shows such as Will and Grace and Boardwalk Empire, as well as films like The Irishman and Old Dads. He's currently starring in Art, which is playing at the Music Box Theater on Broadway. Please welcome back to the show our friend Bobby Cannavale, everybody. Bobby. No, you gotta be over here. No, come on, Bobby.
I know.
Don't be cold.
I'm
very happy to have you back.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
I'm also happy to have you back on Broadway. I know you've never taken a really long break, but is it exciting to be back nonetheless?
Oh, I love it. I love it more than any of the mediums out there.
Have you always loved it that much, or do you?
I've always loved it. When I was a kid, I loved the theater. It was the first reading I ever did as a kid. You know, I used to read plays. I'd go to the library and read plays, and I just love it. You know, I love making something out of nothing with a bunch of people in a room. You know, you're sitting there, and there's just these words in front of you, and you have no idea what you're going to do. I didn't know James or Neil before 3 months
You got James Corden, Neil Patrick Harris. It's a three-hander. It's the three of you guys on stage.
And then the audience comes. There's 1,000 people there. They come from all over the world, all over the country, and they sit there together the way you are, and they commune, and they take part in this thing with us, and it's a really special thing. And every night after the show, we go outside to thank hundreds of people who are out there looking for an autograph, you know, on the playbill. And you know, you meet people from all over the country who have nothing in common with each other. They're all together there, and they're all taking part in this incredible tradition.
And no phones. Like you know, there's something genuinely
phones.
But I mean, you know, recently you know, you go to a Broadway play, and it is this really special experience of like, oh, wow, look at this. Like, we're all facing the same direction, which just feels like rare.
Yeah. I had a good friend who told me one time, he was like, I can't go to the theater, I'm sorry, because I know I can throw something at you, and I can remember stop the show. And I was like, well, all right, maybe you shouldn't come. And then I did this play on Broadway with Chris Rock, and it was very popular, and he came and saw it, and he came 3 times to see it. And I said, well, why are you coming? And he was like, well, aside from the fact that I'm a Chris Rock fan, I feel like when I come to see this show, like I'm in the room with you guys. And it's a very strange feeling, and I forget I'm in the theater. And that can actually happen. And when that does happen to you, you want to do it again. You want to try to find that feeling again. And we're doing it 8 times a week for thousands of people, and it's a joy to do. And to hear people laugh together and applaud together and be outraged together, and it's an incredible feeling. It's sustaining.
How is opening night? Do you still have jitters when it's that specific evening where you know it's an opening?
Yeah, I guess opening night is different from other nights because you have your people there.
Right.
And God knows who else. And we had like a pretty starry opening night, you know. It was pretty cool. You know, I got to meet Jodie Foster. I'd never met her.
Really cool.
Hawn was there, Nathan Lane, and you know, a bunch of people I admire. Ben Vereen was there.
Can you see their faces when you're on stage?
Sometimes you can. Like that night, I saw all my people in the 4th row.
Yeah.
I saw Rose, and I saw my son Jake, and all my friends, and you know, I had a terrible thing happen on opening night. I forgot a line. And I'd never done that in my whole career.
Really?
So I had to call for a line because I didn't know where I was. I just completely went up.
And how quickly do you realize, like, I'm so lost that I'm going to have to call for it?
Well, it feels like a very long time. It feels like an hour, but I think it probably that was probably 7 or 8 seconds. Although, not to be gross, but I'm pretty sure somebody farted.
Okay.
And I think that's
You're
what
trying to put that on it?
I'm pretty sure that's what threw me.
Got it.
It's the second time that's happened.
Was it, now, be honest, was it someone in the audience or someone on stage?
It could have been Neil over there. It wafted over. Something happened that I smelled something and threw it off, and I knew it wasn't me.
And so when you got the line, were you just immediately back on track?
Immediately back on track. Yeah, these things happen, you know, live theater, right? I remember that same show I was doing with Chris. He had never done a play before.
This was his Broadway debut. I would love you to say the title of the show.
You want me to really say it?
Yeah.
The title of the play was The Mother with the Hat. And it was great. It was a huge hit, and you know, Chris was in it, and we got nominated for 7 Tonys. It was a big deal, but there'd never been a play with that kind of title on Broadway before.
Yeah.
And so one night, Chris was up there, and somebody yelled something from the mezzanine, and he I could see him go blank all of a sudden, and then he just turned out to the audience and he went, "What'd you just say to me?" And I was like, hey. And he was like, and then he comes back and he goes, "Sorry, man." And then he went back again. What you say to me? I was like, hey.
You mentioned your son, Jake.
Yeah.
Also an actor.
Yeah.
Does he, when he sees you at a play, does he give you feedback? Can you tell when he likes it?
I can always tell when he likes it, and I can always tell when he doesn't like it. He likes this one because he called me the next day, and that whole night he was very effusive. And when he doesn't like it, he'll just say, "Yeah, it was all right."
Yeah.
Well, all that work for that. You know? But you know, Jake gets it. He's been on Broadway himself. He did a play about 10 years ago with Larry David.
He was Larry David's Broadway debut.
That was Larry David's Broadway debut and Jake's. Jake was 20 at the time, and
How was Larry to work with?
oh, Jake loved him, you know, but he said that, you know, very much sort of on brand for Larry. He said that, like, it was as if nobody had told him it was 8 shows a week. And then the first week they did it, he was like, 8 shows? I can't do 8 shows. And Jake said that was the bit for like 6 months. We're doing it again? Yeah. So,
I mean, the
it's
best,
pretty good.
I will say, with my interactions with Larry, I always walk away feeling I completely got my money's worth. You know, like,
Oh, yeah.
I got the full Larry David.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah. He is as advertised. It's a lot of fun.
I was once having a coffee with him, and 2 guys just like walked over and just stopped in front of us because they were just so excited to see Larry David. And then they just started talking to him for a bit. And he was being very polite, but then it was like a beat, and he goes, "I think we're done." And they were so happy because that was the story they were going to tell.
It's the best when you already have that persona.
Yeah.
You know who's like that? Bill Burr. I remember having lunch with Bill one time, and this guy was with his wife, and they were sitting next to us, and the guy was like, "I just got to say, I just love you. I'm such a big fan of yours." And Bill was like, "Oh, thanks a lot." He goes, "I love when you did this." Then Bill was like, "All right, thanks." And then the third time, Bill just goes, I mean, why don't you quit while you're ahead?" And the guy, the wife, the partner was like outraged, and the guy thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And he was like, "All right, buddy, I won't bother you anymore."
Yeah, I know. The bummer is like when people think you're nice and you're like, "Oh, son of a bitch."
Yes.
They're not going to be happy if I tell them to get
Yeah.
lost.
I remember Larry one time when they were rehearsing that play, I was rehearsing something else in the same building, so I'd run into him in the elevator sometimes, and he always had something to say to me that was like, I felt like I was on that show. He'd be like, "Look at you with the shirt and the pants." And I'd be like, "Well, they're just shirt and the pants." And he goes, No, the way you wear the shirt and the pants. Well, we did a whole thing on my shirt and pants that made almost no sense, but it did. It was funny. So.
He's something else.
Yeah, he is.
I got more to ask about the play. We'll be right back with Bobby after this. We're back with Bobby Cannavale. All right, so this is a famous play, and it's about 3 friends. Neil's character buys a very expensive piece of modern art.
That's right.
And your character does not care for it and thinks it was too expensive.
That's right, and doesn't get it, doesn't understand why he went and did that, and it just brings into question their relationship, their roles, the respective roles they've played in each other's lives over the 25 years that they've been friends, and it sort of splinters them in a way. And James plays a guy who just wants them to get along and really just wants to be Switzerland, and that causes its own problems. And it's a pretty funny evening, and really it's like, you know, it's that thing of like, how do you argue with somebody you love? How do you argue with your friends and still come out of it on the other side without hating each other? And I think there's a certain sort of nuance to that we've kind of lost, and I think people like seeing that.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, watching people resolve differences is a real lost art.
It really is. And so, I mean, again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but like we see these people after every show, hundreds of them, and that's what they say to us. Like, wow, it was amazing to watch people have these arguments without killing each other, without just shutting each other down, but just actually listening and having a discourse about something they don't agree on. And it's pretty profound to feel the reaction from the audience with this kind of subject matter.
Have you had that happen in real life, where you've had a friend maybe spend a lot of money on something you don't get?
Well, it wasn't that it was a lot of money, but I remember, I mean, So God rest his soul, the great James Gandolfini, when he was working here working The Sopranos, we were friends, and he bought a Vespa. He bought this little tiny Vespa, and I was like, "What are you doing? You look ridiculous on that thing." And he was like, "Yeah, right, sure, whatever. Don't worry about it." He's like, "You should get one." And I was like, "I'm never getting one of those." And one thing about me is, if I'm criticizing something, I'm probably gonna own it in a couple months.
Okay.
I'll be like, "Where'd you get those shoes? They're ugly," and I'll be wearing them. Campers, whatever it is,
right.
Crocs, I'm getting them. So I was like, I'll never get one of those. Cut to too much. Every time I'd see him, beep beep, you could get one.
Yeah.
So I finally bought one, and I would ride. Did
you like it?
I loved it, but then he made fun of me because I bought a mint green one, and he was like, "That's a stupid color." Like, now he had something to make fun of me for, even though we both looked ridiculous on these things.
You did him the hugest favor. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, have you seen Gandolfini? He looks ridiculous." They're like, "Wait till see Cannavale."
I know. They were pretty hot there for a second, though.
They were pretty hot there.
They were, I enjoyed it.
There were some good people who were riding around on Vespas. And I will say, my initial reaction was like, this is
get one?
ridiculous. No, I didn't get one.
Oh, well.
But yeah, Sudeikis was driving around on one. And I remember
That's
being like,
right.
and I was
That's
like,
right.
what'd you get this for? And he was like, it's the best thing ever. And then I was super jealous that he had one and I didn't. Yeah.
I used to go on rides with my friends. I remember Schwimmer and Joey Slotnick got one, and my friend Tom McCarthy got one.
Yeah.
And we used to go on rides together.
Wait, in New York
On our
City?
Vespas. Yeah, in New York City. We'd ride up to the bridge. Take our leathers off, have a swig from the flask, and get back on with our feet in front of us.
And all the kids were like, oh, steer clear of the gang.
But at that point, Jimmy had gotten so big with that show that I felt like it was okay.
Yeah, if he broke the seal on cool guys having Vespas, you're good to go.
We'd be all right, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have gone on the ride.
We'd call it that. Let's go on the ride. Are we going on the ride today?
Hey, man, thanks for being here. It's always such a pleasure.
Thanks.
Art is playing at the Music Box Theater on Broadway. We'll be right back with Lola Young.